Hi everybody, Brenda Santos here with Menson Studios. We're starting a new series called Tip Tuesday, and they're going to be fun, quick little tips to help you save time and money in your business, and who doesn't like to do that, right? But before we get started, if you will please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also hit that bell so you know whenever we upload a new video, and then come over to our Facebook page and join our group. It's called the Apparel Decorators Forum. Okay, now that you've done that, let's get to the tips and tricks. Okay, so in today's Tuesday tip, I'm going to show you how to use a small piece of vinyl to finish one of those jobs that we've all had. It's, say, a small name or a small design, and what we don't want to do is we don't want to use one of our existing rolls of vinyl, because what we end up doing is cutting a small piece of the design, and then we end up trimming off the rest and putting it into this lovely pile that you see back here. I'm sure you've all have it, pieces of scrap that we had from previous jobs. Well, one of my biggest pet peeves in business is to waste materials. So if there's any way that I can put it into a new job, then that increases my profits. So how will we do that? So what I do, and one of my little tricks, is to use a hobby cutter mat. This one is a Cricut mat. You can use the Silhouette Cameo mats. And let me change the camera around and I'm going to show you how we do it. Okay, so here's the cutting mat that I'm using. It's a Cricut 12 by 24 cutting mat. You can actually use any cutting mat that you want, so long as it will go through the sensors on your Graphtec. So you want it to be long enough to go through the back of the machine and wide enough to be able to go through the pinch rollers. Another important thing is you want to make sure that your mat is nice and tacky, because what we're going to be doing is essentially going to be holding down your vinyl. So if you don't have enough tack on your cutting mat, your vinyl will kind of shift around and you won't get a nice clean cut. So what I do is, in order to make sure that it's going to go through easily, I will usually go about 1 or 2 inches in, and then I will kind of square it up using the bottom line. So here we go. Again, it's not super crucial. You want to make sure that you are able to measure your piece of vinyl so that way you know that you're going to fall within this dimension, because if you say this is 1, 2, 3 inches tall, I've got a little bit of a leeway here, but I usually go 1, 2, and 3. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 inches wide. So a 3 by 9. As long as my design is less than 3 by 9 inches, we are totally good with using this piece to go through the Graphtec. Okay, so now let's go over to the Graphtec and I'll show you how we cut it. Okay, so now we're over at our Graphtec, and here is the mat that we laid that vinyl on a second ago. And what we're going to do is we're going to load it into the machine. As you can see, I have the pinch roller set. Again, it's not a huge issue as to where the pinch rollers are. You just want to make sure that it's wide enough to accommodate what you're going to be cutting, right? So when we load it, let me scooch this over so you can see. Actually going to be taking the mat, and as you can see, I've got plenty of room on this side, and then I use my ridges to align. You can see this right here. I use these ridges to align where my mat's going to go. So my roller is going to go over this, and my roller is going to go over the mat. So we're going to load it as we do a regular piece of vinyl. Okay, so now here's the magic. What you're going to do is you are going to align your roller, so you're going to use your arrow keys, and you're going to scoot over your little cutter to be within where that vinyl starts, right? And then you're going to pull it down to make sure that you are, and I'm sorry, let me see if I can scoot over just a little bit so you can see. So do you see how, get this right here, I'm sorry for the shakiness, but do you see how the cutter is within the bottom and the top right of this piece of vinyl? Okay, so now let me get you back to where we were. Okay, so now once we have this and we're inside of our vinyl, you're going to make sure you set your new origin point. Your origin point is this top right button right here. When you hear that beep, you know that your new origin is set. and your cutter is going to start cutting from this point all the way to the inside of this pinch roller. So as you can see, we're set well within here. So now all we have to do is make sure that our design fits within those two and it's not any taller than the 3 inches that we measured over at the table. Okay, so now let's go over to the computer so I can show you the design, and then we're going to send the design to the cutter. Okay, now that we have our vinyl loaded into the Graphtec cutter with the Cricut cutting mat, I'm going to show you how we send the file over to the cutter. So this particular line of text is going to be is 5 inches wide, but just over ½ an inch tall. You'll send this over like you normally do when you do your cut job. We use CorelDRAW 2018 along with a plugin to send it over to the Graphtec. So here it's going to show you we've got it set up for our vinyl. Now most of you will use like this pull size here. You can still use it. The only thing is now you're actually having to be in charge of making sure that your piece of vinyl fits within here, because these measurements won't be accurate because you have to allow the extra kind of 2 inches or so that you moved over to allow the pinch rollers to go over the cutting mat. I hope that makes sense. So really your measurements don't matter. So as long as you know that this is going to fit and you have set your origin over on your cutting mat, you should be good to go. So we know that that piece of vinyl was 5.5 inches wide. So we know that it's not going to go over any further. We're going to have plenty of room. And then we know that we had 3 inches to play with from top to bottom. And since this is only just a hair over ½ an inch, we're going to be totally fine. Now you could do multiple jobs, so if you know that you wanted to do a couple of copies, you could add this in. So this one particular one, because we know that we fit within 3 inches, we could actually do this job 4 times and get 4 pieces out of that one little piece of vinyl. Okay, so now that we've got that ready to go, we're going to send that over to the Graphtec and we will show you how we finish it. Okay, so now we're going to read our design so you can see just how accurately it cut. Sorry, I grabbed that just a little bit and pinched that off. Okay, this is one of the good things. Do you see this little dot? If that happens to you, sorry, I'm trying to read behind the camera, so it's a little difficult. I just touch that dot right there and push it through. We're good to go. So that wasn't the cutter's fault, it was my fault. Sorry about that tape. Okay, so as you can see, this little tiny piece right here, we would have had to cut all of this strip off of that larger roll of vinyl. So now what we can do is we can just cut this piece and we can utilize the rest of this scrap piece of vinyl using the same method I showed you. So you can put this back on that cutting mat, you'll have all of this area, or if you need this piece, you can use this piece. The piece can get smaller and smaller and smaller. As long as it sticks to the cutting mat and it doesn't come up, you are good to cut small pieces. So that's how to save some vinyl and to save some money using your Graphtec cutter and a cutting mat. Well, thank you for watching our first edition of Tip Tuesday. We hope it was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell so you know when we upload more tips, tricks, and videos. And head over to Facebook and join our group, the Apparel Decorators Forum, where we're going to share more ideas on how to grow and enhance your business. So remember, we all have to start somewhere, so we should start here. So until next time, see you soon.